Shalom. Welcome, my children. We are back, Manly P. Hall. Today we're going to do some astrotheurgy. Study the signs of the zodiac. Welcome to the channel. And if you want to help support these streams, you can give a one-time donation, become a YouTube member, cryptocurrency, AI, end of the world, you know, the dig. Let's all draw a tarot card for this week. That's right, we're all practicing our psychic abilities. I see, ooh, I'm just looking at the poll we have running. Let me see. Where is it? Where is the card for today? I think it's here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Here's what's up. For everyone watching, use your psychic vision. What's the first thing that comes into your mind when you look at this card? Carl knows what card it is. He knows what's up. He knows what's up. Now, howdy to the chat. Necrodancer, Tyler, welcome. Kimberly, Ruben. Ruben's guessing temperance already. Damn, okay. Okay, okay. Cactus, hello. Bobby Bob. Haniel, 7387, welcome. Outtuition. Hello, hello. And Bob is guessing lovers. Kimberly's guessing 5. Okay. Okay, Necrodancer going for tower. Interesting. Tyler's guessing 17 star? The star? Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Going for the zodiac and the signs, the stars. Yeah, okay. There's always been like some kind of connection between the tarot and the theme of the chapter. So that's a smart guess. But is anyone able... Why do I have headphones in? What am I doing? What am I doing? What are we all doing? YouTube's just popping up. Welcome, live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. Cool. Thank you, YouTube. That's the key. That's the key. You gotta like move aside the logical foundations and allow that thing to be able to receive from the universe. Outtuition going Wheel of Fortune. Excellent, excellent. Oh, thank you, Cactus, for $2 American. That'll go a long way. And also on the poll, we're fighting in the poll between two choices. The duality of man, 13 votes. Okay, damn. Also guessing Wheel of Fortune, Cactus. Now, let's jump right into it. The zodiac and its signs. Kimberly's asking, what is this poll? I just did a funny thing because I was just like, it's always good to have a poll, right? It's for engagement, Kimberly. We need to engage the people. It is difficult for this age to estimate correctly the profound effect produced upon the religions, philosophies, and sciences of antiquity by the study of the planets, luminaries, and constellations. And this is big. Nowadays, as modern man, we are so deracinated, or like, we're so divorced from nature. But truly being under the stars and being connected into the stars in a way that especially really only sailors get. Because when you're a sailor in the middle of the ocean, there's no landmarks. It's just like the ocean and everything looks the same, but at night you can see the stars. And being at different spots in the ocean, you get different stars. And so the stars is it's literally a map. And not only that, imagine like being in a calm ocean at night and the ocean reflects the stars and it just feels like you're going through space. Like experiences like that you don't get as a modern human, with all of the light pollution from incandescent bulbs and whatnot. But what I'm trying to get is, we live on the Earth, but there was always this unity between the macrocosm, the stars, the astral, and their relationship with the physical. People always saw that as a thing. There's an interconnectedness throughout the whole universe. And this plays out in their philosophies, which would then saturate their traditions, their religions. Not without adequate reason were the Magi of Persia called the Stargazers. The Egyptians were honoured with a special appellation because of their proficiency in computing the power and motion of the heavenly bodies and their effect upon the destinies of nations and individuals. So math and science all derive from stargazing, or much of it does. Ruins of primitive astronomical observatories have been discovered in all parts of the world, although in many cases modern archaeologists are unaware of their true purpose, for which these structures were erected. Richard's member, welcome. While the telescope was unknown to ancient astronomers, they made many remarkable calculations with instruments cut from blocks of granite or pounded from sheets of brass and copper. Indeed, indeed. In India, such instruments are still in use, and they possess a high degree of accuracy. In Jaipur, Rajputana, India, an observatory consisting largely of immense stone sundials is still in operation. The famous Chinese observatory on the wall of Peking consists of immense bronze instruments, including a telescope in the form of a hollow tube without a lens. It's very interesting. I remember one podcast where a guy was saying one of the ways they used to observe the stars wasn't by looking up, it was by looking down, and they would use large bowls or dishes of water. Or in temples, they would have these large pools of water, and instead of looking up, it would just reflect at night into the pool, and so you'd stare at the stars, and a year goes by. The stars change each month, but as the year goes by, eventually it repeats, and you go, if there's repetition, there's a pattern. And so by staring into the pool of water that reflects the stars in the sky, that was one of the ways that they noticed specific patterns. The pagans looked upon the stars as living things, capable of influencing the destinies of individuals, nations, and races. That the early Jewish patriarchs believed that the celestial bodies participated in the affairs of men is evident to any student of biblical literature, as for example in the book of Judges. They fought from heaven, even the stars in their courses fought against Sisera. There you go, very interesting. Very interesting. We all know the Platonists were big on that. And that bleeds all the way through into Renaissance, medieval times. I think in Dante's Divine Comedy there's a whole bunch of astrological stuff. When he comes out of the Infernos and he's at the base of the Mount of Purgatory, he looks up at the sign of Pisces. Also with, I believe, the creation of Rosicrucianism. When the Rosicrucian manifestos were published, there was some astrological conjunction in the sign of Sagittarius, which is interesting. I think 4 of the major planets were in the sign of Sagittarius, or were conjuncting each other in Sagittarius, which is interesting. Very interesting. An ideal utopia. The Chaldeans, Phoenicians, Egyptians, Persians, Hindus, and Chinese all had zodiacs that were much alike in general character, and different authorities have credited each of these nations with being the cradle of astrology and astronomy. I think nowadays we just go, it was the Middle East, that Mesopotamia, and from Mesopotamia it bled into China and the East, and then it also bled into Egypt, and through Egypt into Greece and whatnot, but it seems Mesopotamia was the true cradle. The Central and North American Indians also had an understanding of the zodiac, but the patterns and numbers of the signs differed in many details from those of the Eastern Hemisphere. The word zodiac is derived from the Greek zodiakos, or zodiakos, Zodiacos, which means a circle of animals. Okay. Or as some believe, little animals. It is the name given by the old pagan astronomers to a band of fixed stars, about 16 degrees wide, apparently encircling the Earth. Robert Hewitt Brown, 32 degrees, Freemason. Freemason states that the Greek word zodiakos comes from zion, meaning animal. Okay. He adds, this latter word is compounded directly from the primitive Egyptian radicals zo, life, and on, being. It's an interesting etymology. How much stock do you put in the Chinese zodiac? I think the Eastern ones are more sidereal, like they actually focus on the actual constellations. Or in the West we do, what's it called, seasonal? So, you know, what is it, when's Aries? In frickin' April or whatever. So it's just April, boom, that's when Aries is, even though the sign of Aries isn't there in the sky technically. But Chinese seems to be fine, it just seems to be their own system. I know there's a lot of people who like try to combine East and West, and it's like, nah, they're two completely different systems, and if you actually master the system, it does what it needs to do. It's not like, oh, it's incomplete and you need to put the East into the West. And it's like, no. The Eastern system's fine. You just learn the Eastern system and it does what it needs to do. You don't need to do any of this finicky... People who mix systems a lot of the time, they don't understand the system enough. And so they get a little bit from here, a little bit from here, and they kind of create a Frankenstein's monster, which if it works for them, it works for them. But it's like, if you actually learnt the complete system, it functions as intended and has its, you don't need, it's complete in and of itself. But yeah, I'm a horse. It's weird, I'm actually like, in the Chinese zodiac, I'm an earth horse? Or metal horse or something? But like, and it's interesting, because in the Western, I'm an Aquarius, I'm such a goddamn Aquarius, it's amazing, but it's like, in the East, it's like earth, it's this grounded element, so that's kind of interesting. But I don't know, I haven't gone deep into the Chinese astrology that much, you know, besides the surface, learning the animals and the elements and all of that stuff. Metal Dragon, Nulu. Oh, Nulu, by the way. Yo, Nulu. This is a good one. See if you can guess it. Metal Dragon, though. Dragon, see, and this is the thing about the Chinese zodiac. They got all these animals, and they put dragon there, and it's like, god damn. Anyone who's not a dragon is just like, oof, oof. I mean, tiger's cool as well, but imagine if you're born under the year of the rat. Or like pig, you're like, oh, man. Our tuition, you're a dirty, filthy little fire rat. That's pretty funny. Bob, you got Earth Rabbit? Okay. I think Rabbit is like the equivalent of Gemini, but it's completely different how they do it. Horses. Dogs. Oh, Tyler's a dog. Okay. Apparently there's some like story about how there should be the cat in there. All the animals were having a race, and then the rat tricked the cat, and the cat got completely lost and arrived last, and so it didn't actually get a place in the zodiac. So there's a secret 13th sign in the Chinese zodiac or in the Eastern zodiac, because I think the Japanese use the same, and there's like a secret cat star sign, but because of the rat, the rats just troll. The rats are trolls. The rats are the little Lucifers. Necro's also a dog. That's interesting. Tyler and Necro, the biggest donators, are both dogs. Loyals. Very loyal. Man's best friend. They ate the cat. They are the cat. They ate the cat. Okay. I mean, I never finished watching Fruits Baskets, so everyone watch that and tell me what's up. Now, the Greek, and it's interesting because in the West we put the star signs also on the body, and I don't know if they do that in the East, because in the East they used it for different things. Like, they still used it for divination, but in the West we also got really into using it for medicine, and I actually don't think like the Chinese used theirs for medicine. They definitely had esoteric things and divination, used it for divination and things like that. But I'm not sure if their astrology played that big of a role in medicine. Like their feng shui systems and geomancy interconnected with qigong and the meditative exercises and the medicine at some point. But I don't... Yeah. It's different. Once again, it's different. And it's like, some people will look at the Eastern and be like, oh, they, haven't used it, or you gotta mix it with the Western. No. Just learn the system as it is, master it, and then you can synthesize or add or understand where it's lacking. But if you just have a basic bitch New Age slop understanding, you're not gonna get far. You're just gonna be frickin'... What's his face? Sorry, White Lotus popped into my head. That show. The freaking Goggins and the other guy doing that monologue at the table. Oh my god. It's like chiseled into my brain now. Apparently that was like ad-libbed. Anyway, I'm going off tangent here. Stop it. Now, the Greeks and later other peoples influenced by their cultures divided the band of the zodiac into 12 sections, each being 16 degrees in width and 30 degrees in length. So 30 degrees is big because that's more what the Egyptians did. So the Egyptians focused more on the 30 decans or deacons instead of the 16 degrees. And so there's a thing where it's like the Egyptian decans and then the like how the Greeks did it. That then kind of gets fused at certain points. They like to fuse, those systems got fused together or placed kind of on top of each other because you can see them as different interconnecting rings. The 30 deacons or decans, or actually, is it decans? Fuck, what am I thinking of? Okay, maybe I'm completely wrong. Let's keep going. See if he mentions what I'm talking about. These divisions were called the houses of the zodiac. The sun, during its annual pilgrimage, passed through each of these in turn. Imaginary creatures were traced in the star groups bounded by these rectangles. And because most of them were animal, or part animal in form, they later became known as constellations, or signs of the zodiac. So this is a little inaccurate. So this is one thing that's interesting. In the history of zodiac and star signs and stuff, when we first get our knowledge of astrology and astronomy, our earliest books, whenever we find a dig site or a Babylonian inscription talking about it, it's a complete system. What we don't find is a scientific increase over time, like someone studying a star and then it builds up and here's some constellations and they build up the constellations over time. We don't find that. We find it as a complete system in and of itself. And this is one thing, when you look at the constellations are all different shapes and sizes and they overlap, and Libra's like actually a tiny constellation, and what is it, Virgo actually, the constellation of Virgo actually overlaps into Libra. That's why sometimes you see the Virgin, the woman, and with the scales, it's like they combine those two constellations together as Justice, Lady Justice. Pisces is abnormally large compared to other constellations, things like that. The constellations and the signs are different. The signs are not arbitrary, but that's the technical. We're going to divide the sky into 16 degrees or lots of whatever, and then kind of make this belt. So they're actually, the signs and the constellations are slightly different. But we don't know kind of like why or what the underlying logic is or why it works, because this is all Northern Hemisphere stuff. Like, does that mean in the Southern Hemisphere, if you're a Capricorn, Capricorns are actually born in like April or like at the opposite end of the year and whatnot? And it's like, Capricorns are born in July? No. If you're in Australia and you're born under the specific signs, it still works. And so it's interesting, even though it's the Western seasonal system still works even if you're born literally like in the southern hemisphere. So it means there's some macrocosmic mechanic underlying the zodiac and the system of astrology, but they don't quite know what it is. They don't know what the mechanic is, they don't know how it works, and it's hard because nowadays we want to make it sciencey, and it's like, oh, the gravity, and it's like the ancients never said gravity. The ancients just said rays. They didn't even say light. They said the rays from the planet, which is different from how they talk about light. There's this whole system of rays and emanation. Gurdjieff talks about this. The Trogo-auto-egocratic principle. It's like everything is interconnected via these rays, the radiation. They radiate out from all of the heavenly bodies, and the heavenly bodies interconnects with each other, and it's like, that's the idea. They talk about influence. Exactly. Anyway, I got a little off topic there, but it's, yeah, just a little inaccuracy there. It's not something that built up over time like a science. It was just fully formed. At least we don't have it, the build-up of it. We just have it fully formed as a science, as is. As a sacred science. Manly has electromagnetism that kind of relates. Yes, indeed. Manly P. Hall Archive and the Rudolf Steiner Archive are the... they have many hours of good stuff to follow on from. The Greeks and later other peoples influenced by their culture divided the band of the zodiac into 12 sections, each being 16 degrees in width and 30 degrees in length. These divisions were the houses of the zodiac. The sun, during its annual pilgrimage, passed through each of these in turn. So also, I apologize if we're getting any lawn mowing ASMR in the background. Imaginary creatures were traced in the star groups, bounded by these rectangles. And because most of them were animal, or part animal, in form, they later became known as constellations, or signs of the zodiac. So yeah, and this is usually in all zodiacs, they're all animals. There's one sign in the Western zodiac that breaks that, and that's Libra. So never forget, Libra is not an animal, it's a thing. Which is always quite intriguing, like, why did that happen? Why did that happen? Jord likes to think of the signs seasonally, like Aries in the beginning of spring, for example, but thinking of the southern hemisphere, the seasonal vibe approach won't work. Yes, you can kind of sometimes force it, like using Capricorn, for example. In the northern hemisphere, Capricorn is symbolic of darkness and withdrawal. Why? Because that's when it's winter and everything goes within. In Australia, that would be the depths of summer. But in places like Australia, it's the dry season. So that's when all of the plants, they don't die, but all of the foliage falls off. There's no greenery. Well, unless in the native plants, there's no greenery. All of the plants withdraw within themselves and save their energy for when the sun's not beating down on them. You know, all the animals go into caves to avoid the sun. So there's still this kind of going within, but that's just with the sign of Capricorn, and that you can kind of force it. So can you do that with each sign overlaying to the season and kind of that? It still doesn't work symbolically, but like, if you're in Australia and you're born in December, you're a Capricorn dog. You're a Capricorn. You're born January, late December, January, you're a Capricorn. You're a Cap. There's nothing else. There's nothing there for it. Oh, just a second. Let me just see if I got a little message. Ah, never mind. Okay, let's keep going. There is a popular theory concerning the origin of the zodiac, of the zodiacal creatures, to the effect that they were products of the imagination of shepherds. Okay. Who, watching their flock at night, occupied their minds by tracing the form of animals and birds in the heavens. This theory is untenable, I agree. Unless the shepherds, regarded as the shepherd priests of antiquity. Yeah, exactly. It is unlikely that the zodiacal signs were derived from star groups, which now represent. It is far more probable that the creatures assigned to the 12 houses are symbolic of the qualities and the intensity of the sun's power, while it occupies the different parts of the zodiacal belt. on this subject. Richard Payne Knight. Oh, yeah, that's right. We get some more from the Payne Knight, the Dark Souls boss. The emblematical meaning which certain animals were employed to signify was only some particular property generalized, and therefore might easily be invented on or discovered by the natural operation of the mind. But the collections of stars named after certain animals have no resemblance whatever to those animals, which are therefore merely signs of convention adopted to distinguish certain portions of the heavens, which were probably consecrated to those particular personified attributes which they respectively represent. So sometimes you see, when you compare different zodiacs, you do see certain themes though. Like, I think it's not the modern Chinese zodiac, but there's different zodiacs, and there's, I think, in an ancient or an older version of the Chinese zodiac, there's a turtle which can correspond to Cancer. So, and if you think, Cancer, turtles and crabs are very different. But if you think about it, it's like that hard shell, the soft inside. There's a family resemblance to why they would choose that symbol. So there's an essence or a nature that they're locking onto. Some authorities are of the opinion that the zodiac was originally divided into 10 instead of 12 houses, or solar mansions. Oh yeah, the mansions, okay, yeah. In early times, there were 2 separate standards, one solar and one lunar mansions. Let's get into this. Used for measurements of the months, years, and seasons. The solar year was composed of 10 months, 36 days each, and 5 days sacred to the gods. The lunar year consisted of 13 months, of 28 days, each with 1 day left over. So that's also another thing. I think the Chinese zodiac is based on like lunar stuff. It's lunar instead of solar. The solar zodiac at that time consisted often hours of 36 degrees each. The first 6 signs of the zodiac, of 12 signs, were regarded as benevolent, because the sun occupied them while traversing the northern hemisphere. The 6,000 years during which, according to the Persians, Ahura Mazda ruled his universe in harmony and peace, were symbolic of these 6 signs. The second 6 were considered malevolent, because while the sun was traveling the southern hemisphere, it was winter with the Greeks, Egyptians, and Persians. And there we are. Therefore, these 6 months symbolic of the 6,000 years of misery and suffering caused by the evil genius of the Persians, Ahriman, was sought to overthrow the power of Ahura Mazda. Those who hold the opinion that before its revision by the Greeks, the zodiac consisted of only 10 signs, adduce evidence to show that Libra, the scales, was inserted into the zodiac by dividing the constellation Virgo-Scorpio. Ah, that's interesting. At that time, one sign into 2 parts, thus establishing the balance. Oh, this is interesting, because Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, when you think about that symbolism, Scorpio is a scorpion, but it can also be symbolized by some kind of creature, like a serpent. And if you think of the Virgin as the woman stepping on the serpent, that's very symbolic with mystery cults. And then, of course, the Libra, yeah, that's interesting, that's interesting. Like I was saying before, with the Virgin sometimes holding, he doesn't say holding it, but it's interesting, very interesting. That's why it's scales, okay. Or that's why they made it the scales, to cut that constellation in half. Point of equilibrium between the ascending northern and descending southern signs. See the Rosicrucians' rites and mysteries. I would love to get a little bit of Hargrave Jennings. He's probably one of the first guys that talked about, like, secret Rosicrucian practices. We think that the zodiac constellations were first 10 and represented an immense androgenic man or deity. Subsequently, this was changed, resulting in Scorpio and Virgo, and making 11. After this, from Scorpio, Libra, the balance was taken, making the present 12. I've always wondered about Scorpio and Aquarius as well, because, like, an alternative symbol for Scorpio that I've seen, like in ancients, one of the alternative symbols for Scorpio is the eagle, because to do with, like, loneliness. Or like, and it's like, Scorpio's water, why is it an eagle sometimes seen there? Eagle being air. And then there's Aquarius being an air sign, but aqua, and it's water. What? And it's just, there's some weird elemental switch between Scorpio and Aquarius. There's something weird there. I think I heard Scorpio used to be represented by a phoenix. Hey, yeah, phoenix and eagles sometimes are interconnected, and Aquarius by an angel or a winged man. Have you heard of that? Yeah. Okay, so I hadn't heard that Aquarius being an angel or a winged man, but that makes more sense for Aquarius to be a dude with wings instead of a dude carrying water and calling it Aquarius, the water carrier. Because there seems to be some kind of... It feels like you're flipping the element there. You know what I mean? Phoenix represents reincarnation. The bird turns to ash and is reborn. Yes. The reason why sometimes you see eagles and phoenix kind of mixing together, because phoenixes, how do you visualize them? It's kind of hard to draw them, and so sometimes it's just like an eagle. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Chart showing the relationship between the human body and the exterior universe. He's such a happy guy, isn't he? Look at that. Look at that smug face there. That smug face. And he's got a little Uzumaki spiral in his stomach. That's where the chi goes. And then across his crutch, he's got a starfish. The abyssal ocean depths. Interesting. Our Outtuition says, and if Scorpio is the death card in the tarot, a phoenix would make more sense in some way. Hey, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. He's just a happy guy. Happy guy. His smug aura mocks you. Yeah, I know, right? Look at him there. Thinks he's so damn good with his complete zodiacal energies. Completely one with the universe. God damn. Makes me sick. From Kirchers. I gotta read some Kircher one day. Anyway, the ornamental border contains groups of names of animal, mineral, and vegetable substances. Their relationships to corresponding parts of the human body is shown by the dotted lines. The words in capital letters on the dotted lines indicate to what corporeal member, organ, or disease the herb or other substance is related. The favorable positions in relation to the time of year are shown by the signs of the zodiac, each house of which is divided by crosses into its 3 decans. This influence is further emphasized by the series of planetary signs placed on either side of the figure. Yes, yes indeed. I would love, like, people don't make diagrams cool anymore. Oh, thank you, Loco. The smugness of the knowledge. $5 for the smugness of the knowledge. What's that R? Is that a US dollar? Or is that a Russian dollar? Are you Russian, Loco? Outtuition. Joke's on him. He's trapped in the wheel. Yeah, that's right. The starfish over his crotch is Patrick. Patrick holds the key to the sexual mysteries. He lives under the rock that is the tripping stone. No worse, Brazilian. That's right. I don't got Russians in my chat. I got Brazilians. Such an esoteric nation. Why do you have the world on your flag? What does it say on the world, on the Brazilian flag? Something esoteric. Anyway, is it Latin? Each year, the sun passes entirely around the zodiac and returns to the point from which it started at the vernal equinox. And each year it falls just a little short of making the complete circle of the heavens in the allotted period of time. As a result, it crosses the equator just a little behind the spot in the zodiacal sign where it crossed the previous year. Each sign of the zodiac consists of 30 degrees, as the sun loses about 1 degree every 72 years. It regresses through one entire constellation or sign in approximately 2,160 years, and through the entire zodiac in about 25,922 years. Authorities disagree concerning these figures. Yeah, I never really met. Some say 2,160, some say 2,060. Because everyone has a different figure, I'm like, yeah, nah, I'm good. I never memorized it. This retrograde motion is called the precession of the equinoxes. This means that in the course of 25,920 years, which constitute one great solar or platonic year, or aeon, each one of the 12 constellations occupies a position on the vernal equinox for nearly 2,160 years, then gives place to the previous sign. I'm sorry for your loss, Brazilian friendo. F's in the chat for Brazilians. The constellation of the day of our independence, if I am to make a guess. I'm not sure at this moment. I thought it had some Latin motto on it that connects to, like, the New World. Because it's the Brazil is in a part of the New World, and it's like the beginning of a new world or something. Thelomite's creaming right now. Aeons, yeah, I know, right? Because the problem is when you try to make a strict numerological demarcation, it never kind of works, because it's like we experience years one at a time. So when's the year? When's the exact year? And it's like there's always some interbleeding from one aeon into another. I like the what is it 1962? In like February the 14th or something, if you go on like an astrology website and make a birth chart as if a person was born in like 1962, I think it was February 14th at like between 12 and 2, all of the planets are like locked into Aquarius. And I'm like, man, imagine someone born on that day would have just been like, no, what's 7? Quintuples, 5, sextuples, they would have been a septuple Aquarius. God damn. But it's like, that's when the Aquarian age began. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm okay with that as a date. Just because, like, all of the planets, all of the 7 main planets of traditional astrology were in the sign of Aquarius. It's like, boom, there we go. Age of Aquarius began then. I'm good. The Wheel of Time. The Wrinkle of Time. What's that book about? I've been watching, I'm watching Stranger Things with my family, and we're just watching one episode at a time. And in one episode, there was like, someone shows the book, Wrinkle in Time, and then in the next episode, they made some joke about a flux capacitor, and I'm like, Back to the Future, Wrinkle in Time. Are they going to do some time travel bullshit? What's going on? What's going on? Elle's going to use her psychic powers to go back in time. But anyway. Wrinkle in Time is about astrology. No one has noticed this. All the planets the kids go to are based off astrology. Okay, really? That's interesting. Also, Stranger Things, the bad guy Vecna is time. Very demiurgic. Very demiurgic. That's interesting. That's very interesting. I kind of see Vecna as... Because, yeah, when he goes into that other dimension and he, like, there's that, like, the mind flayer fog and he incarnates the demiurge and becomes a black magician, is inducted into the Black Lodge. Very interesting. It's kind of like, I saw, the first season, and then I saw the second, and I was like, and then with the third one it didn't impress me, but my wife saw the fourth one and was like, no, it's really good, and we kind of watched it, and I'm like, it's growing on me again. It's getting a little more kind of Gnostic-y in certain points. I'm like, yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Among the ancients, the sun was always symbolized by the figure and nature of the constellation through which it passed at the vernal equinox. For nearly the past 2,000 years, the sun has crossed the equator at the vernal equinox in the constellation of Pisces, the two fishes. Vecna is also the dark wizard in D&D, yeah, of course. Yo, Richard, if you bring up the Wheel of Fortune tarot card, you can see Scorpio depicted as a bird, along with Aquarius being the angel, by the way, if you want the reference point. Yes, actually. Yeah, because that's the four beasts of the apocalypse are the bull, the lion, the eagle, and the man, but they also are symbolic of four different stars or constellations. One is Regulus, one is... like, obviously there's Taurus. I can't remember. I'm so bad with, like, celestial mysteries. I am genuinely bad with celestial mysteries, but it's like, there's a connection there. Yeah, there is. That's real. Yes, that's the reason why Scorpio is connected to the eagle. Thank you. Yeah. Dungeon Master Guide essentially explains how magic works on Earth. Really? I can't get into, like... Oh, hello, Ariman. That's Voices in the Wilderness. I hate it how YouTube has just ripped out everyone's names, and now you only get the @ symbol now. But anyway. I can't enjoy Western fantasy as much anymore, because I've been ruined by Eastern cultivation fantasy. Just the systems. Like Nen's systems, and frickin' cultivation systems, and... It's just the system of magic as the hard magic systems just rule. These sissy boy, soft magic, oh, Gandalf, and he does a thing sometimes. Nah, get that shit out of here. So any, like... it just seems that magic in the Western systems just seems too arbitrary, and I just can't get into it anymore. It's ruined. I've been ruined. I've been stretched out by the Eastern cultivation systems, and I just can't feel pleasure with the Western systems anymore. Among the ancients... Sorry. Two fishes. For 2,160 years. Before that, it crossed through the constellation of Aries, the ram. Prior to that, the vernal equinox was the sign of Taurus, the bull. It is probable that the form of the bull and the bull's proclivities were assigned to this constellation because the bull was used by the ancients to plough the fields, and the season set aside for ploughing and furrowing corresponded to the time at which the sun reached the segment of the heavens named Taurus. The Tao Man. Taurus mentioned exactly. Oh no, you have to read the Dungeon Master's Guide if you know anything about the Illuminati card games. All the best work is secrets placed. Okay. I'll check it out, Coca. I'll check out the Dungeon Master Guide. I think I got like an intro to Dungeons and Dragons at one point, but I'm not sure if I chucked it away. I don't have the time. But yes. So here Manly is talking about the different ages ruled by different signs. Pisces, the fish, being the domination of Christianity. The ones from the 80s, yes. I'll definitely that. These modern degenerate... Everything good came from the 80s. Us moderns. Although, I don't know, apparently, you know, we have Elden Ring. Expedition 33. Baldur's Gate seems pretty cool. But, anyway. Stop distracting me, guys. Guys, I'm not distracting myself, you're distracting me. It's always good to note different esoteric systems come from different times. Mithra slaying the bull, moving from the Age of Taurus to the Age of Aries. Age of Aries is more warlike. Age of Taurus, divine feminine, bull cults. Before the Age of Taurus, it would have been Gemini, divine twins. Richard's member saying question mark. Stop distracting me, Richard's member. Now we are entering the Age of Aquarius, which if it's an angel, a guy of the wings, it's all about deification. Self-deification would be the most degenerate point. And because we're highly technological, it would be transhumanism becomes a new religion. Oh god. It's either the transhumanists versus the Ubermensch. Everyone's about personal evolution now. And that's interesting, because if you think about it, novels never used to exist. There were folk tales that people would say over time, or bards would repeat stories, or stories of heroes. But now everyone wants to write a novel. Everyone wants to write a novel, and they want to put themselves in the novel. Everyone wants to be a hero. This is the age of Aquarius, where everyone wants to rise, ascend. And there's kind of an altruism. We're all going to the fifth dimension, but then some people are like, that guy, he's not awakened like me. It's this, everyone's obsessed with optimization and deification of the self. That's the religion. That's the religion. The religion is write a self-help book. 10 steps to becoming a deity. Or just live stream, yeah, and or just start a live stream, guys. Bruh. I guess that's why video games and stuff like Dungeons and Dragons are so big in the Age of Aquarius, because it's like then you are incarnating into a hero. Meme analysis, I think, has got the Age of Aquarius symbology down. Aquarius is either angel or alien. Yeah. The higher one being the angel. Yes. Yes. Transhumanism is trash. We have been inverted over the course of many, many years. 100%. I'm very sussy buck. Thank you for the $10, Tyler. I'm very sussy bucker on transhumanism. As we know, as a good Jussi always taught us, man, the whole point is for man to become less of a machine, not more. Yes. Now, let's see what Albert Pike has to say. Albert Pike describes the reverence with which the Persians felt for this sign, and the method of astrological symbolism in vogue among them. Thus, in Zoroaster's cave of initiation, the sun and planets were represented overhead in gems and gold, as was also the zodiac. The sun appeared emerging from the back of Taurus. Yeah, he's bringing sexy back. In the constellation of the Bull are also found the Seven Sisters, the sacred Pleiades, famous to Freemasonry as the 7 stars at the upper end of the sacred ladder. Interesting. Someone said, like, Zoroaster is the first archetype of the magician, because it's like a star cult. He would wear a purple robe with stars on it. But I don't know about that. In ancient Egypt, it was during this period when the vernal equinox was in the sign of Taurus that the bull, Apis, was sacred to the sun god, who was worshipped through the animal equivalent of the celestial sign, which he had impregnated with his presence. I impregnate people with my presence at the time of its crossing into the northern hemisphere. This is the meaning of an ancient saying that the celestial bull broke the egg of the year with its horns. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Meaning we'll either become an ascended master, psychic beings of the air, or synthetic alienated greys who are a hive mind. Yes. Yes. That is the age of Aquarius in a nutshell. Samson Arnold Mackey, what a name. In his mythological astronomy of the ancients demonstrated, makes note of 2 very interesting points concerning the bull in Egyptian symbolism. Mr. Mackey. Actually, is it Mackey or is that pronounced Mackay? I guess if he's American, it's Mackey. Mackay, because Mackay, it's either Mackey or Mackay, but the original Scottish pronunciation, and I think they spell it slightly different, is Mackay. I'm going to say Mackay. Okay. Damn it, Altuition. is of the opinion that the motion of the Earth that we know as the alternation of the poles has resulted in a great change of relative position of the equator and the zodiacal band. He believes that originally the band of the zodiac was at right angles to the equator, with the sign of Cancer opposite the North Pole and the sign of Capricorn opposite the South Pole. It is possible that the Orphic symbol of the serpent twisted around the egg attempts to show the motion of the sun in relation to the earth under such conditions. Mr. McKay advances the labyrinth of Crete, the name Abraxas, and the magical formula abracadabra, among other things, to substitute his theory concerning abracadabra. He states, so wait, what? When did you just slam those three concepts together? Okay, let's see what he says. But the slow progressive disappearance of the bull is most happily commemorated in the vanishing series of letters so emphatically expressive of the ancient astronomical fact. For abracadabra is the bull, the only bull. The ancient sentence, split into its component parts, stands thus: abracadabra, i.e. abr, the bull, achad. Oh, that's where Akkad got his frickin' freighter name from. Duh, I'm so dumb. The only, and add Akkad, is one of the names of the sun, given him in consequence of his shining alone. He is the only star to be seen. When he is seen, the remaining Abra makes the whole to be. The bull, the only bull, while the repetition of the name omitting a letter, till all is gone, is the most simple, yet the most satisfactory method that could have been devised to preserve the memory of the fact, the name of Sorapis, or Serapis. That's interesting. Sierra. Sora. To the bull, because I've seen some people call Baphomet and Sophia Sierra, or use a name not with Apis on the end, but something like this. To the bull at the above ceremony puts it beyond all doubt. This word abracadabra disappears in 11 decreasing stages, as in the figure. And what is very remarkable, a body with 3 heads is folded up by a serpent with 11 coils, and placed by Sorapis. And the 11 wolves of the volves? Is that supposed to be wolves? Volves of the serpent form a triangle similar to that formed by the 11 diminishing lines of abracadabra. Bruh. He believes that originally the band of the zodiac was at right angles to the equator. It is possible the Orphic symbol. Bro, that was completely wild jumping the gun there. Yeah, exactly. He lost me at abracadabra. He lost me too. We were talking about the equator, and then he just added a bunch of things together, and I'm like, what? What? Equinoxes in the solstice. Is he? Yeah, I don't know. The plane of the zodiac intersects the celestial equator at the angle of approximately 23 to 28 degrees. The 2 points of intersection, A and B, are called equinoxes. Nearly every religion of the world shows traces of astrological influence. The Old Testament of the Jews, its writing overshadowed by Egyptian culture, is a mass of astrological and astronomical allegories. Nearly all the mythology of Greece and Rome may be traced in star groups. Some writers are of the opinion that the original 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet were derived from groups of stars. I don't know about that. Nah, it's from Assyrian. And that the starry handwriting on the wall of the heavens referred to words spelt out, with fixed stars for consonants, and the planets or luminaries for vowels. These These coming... Oh, that's interesting. So the 7 vowels of the 7 planets. Oh my god. These coming into ever different combinations spelt words, which when properly read, foretold future events. As the zodiacal band marks the pathway of the sun through the constellations. It results in the phenomena of the seasons. The ancient systems of measuring the year were based upon the equinoxes and the solstices. The year always began with the vernal equinox, celebrated March 21st, sorry, March, not April, with rejoicing to mark the moment when the sun crossed the equator northward up the zodiacal arc. The summer solstice was celebrated when the sun reached its most northerly position, and the day appointed was June 21st. After that time, the sun began to descend toward the equator, which it recrossed southbound at the autumnal equinox, September 21st. The sun reached its most southerly position at the winter solstice, December 21st. 4 of the signs of the zodiac have been permanently dedicated to the equinoxes and the solstices, and while the signs no longer correspond with ancient constellations to which they were assigned, and from which they secured their names, they are accepted by modern astronomers as a basis of calculation. The vernal equinox is therefore said to occur in the constellation of Aries, the ram, which is why the Aries is always the beginning of the zodiac. It is fitting that of all beasts, a ram should be placed at the head of the heavenly flock, forming the zodiacal band. I think esoterically, they started at Leo, because it's like the center of the zodiac, but this is like the technical reason why Aries is at the beginning. Yes, meaning that Christ was born at the darkest before dawn times. Yeah, yes. That's where the solar symbolism comes from. Centuries before the Christian era, the pagans revered this constellation. Godfrey Higgins states this constellation was called the Lamb of God. He was also called the Saviour, and was said to save mankind from their sins. He was always honoured with the appellation of Dominus, or Lord. He was called the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sins of the world. The devotees addressing him in their litany constantly repeated the words, O Lamb of God, that taketh away the sin of the world, have mercy upon us, grant us thy peace. Yes. So that's the Capricornian. Everything becomes dark, and then the solar child. And this is interesting, because it's like, it is darkness, but there's this chthonic light that's coming out of the darkness. Something is being born. The solar hero is born then, and he reaches maturity in another state. Therefore, the Lamb of God is a title given to the sun, who is said to be reborn every year in the northern hemisphere, in the sign of the ram, although due to the existing discrepancy between the signs of the zodiac and actual star groups, hence the signs and the constellations being 2 different things, it actually rises in the sign of Pisces. The summer solstice is regarded as occurring in Cancer, the crab, which the Egyptians called the scarab, a beetle of the family Lamelicornes, the head of the insect kingdom, and sacred to the Egyptians, as the symbol of eternal life. It is evident that the constellation of the crab is represented by this peculiar creature. The constellation of the crab is represented by this peculiar creature because the sun, after passing through this house, proceeds to walk backwards or descend the zodiacal arc. Yes, Cancer is the symbol of generation, for it is the house of the moon, the great mother. Of all things, the patroness of the life forces of nature. Diana, the moon goddess of the Greeks, is called the mother of the world. That's interesting, is she? Concerning the worship of the feminine, or maternal principle. The Pain Knight writes, By attracting or heaving the waters of the ocean, she naturally appears to be sovereign of humidity. This is interesting because Diana is such a weird goddess, because Diana Artemis is made the goddess of the moon, but she's a huntress and is almost never connected to the waters. There's this really, there's some interesting, I mean, there's myths of her bathing in water, and then men like peeking and then being instantly annihilated when you watching the divine feminine bathe. Has some initiatic connotation to it, but I think there's, because of the hunt, it's light in the darkness and you hunt at night. There's some connection there, but anyway. She naturally appeared to be the sovereign of humidity, and by seeming to operate so powerfully upon the constitutions of woman, she equally appeared to be the patroness and regulatress of nutrition and passive generation. Whence she is said to have received her nymphs, or subordinate personifications, from the ocean. Oh, that's interesting. Very interesting. Sea nymphs. And is often represented by the symbol of the sea crab. Is that so? An animal that has the property of spontaneously detaching from its own body any limb that has been hurt or mutilated, and reproducing another in its place. Do sea crabs do that? Lurker's cooked. Scarab is way cooler than crab or turtle. Yeah. Turtle is even cooler? Nah, scarab's the best. Scarab beetle. Because then you're like Yoshimitsu from Soul Calibur 3? No, Soul Calibur, what am I talking about? Shit, what's the... Tekken. Is Yoshimitsu in Tekken? Tekken. Oh, he's in Soul Calibur as well. But it's Tekken 3, right? Where he's a scarab beetle for some reason? No, when is he a scarab beetle? Yoshi's in both. I remember this, but I remember one where I swear he's a beetle. He's got like a weird exoskeleton. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. That's what I'm talking about. This is the sign of Cancer when... This is a Cancer when you make her mad. Can confirm. Just discovered Beatles originally called the Quarrymen. Oh, the Beatles, as in the band. Pfft. Whatever, whatever. Tekken 4, best Yoshimitsu, Scarab Beetles. Superior symbolism. Scarab Beetles also have a connotation of immortality to them. There's a type of crab where people just harvest their claws, then release them. Oh, the claws grow back, and they can be caught and harvested again later. See, that's the circle of life. Give me that crab claw soup, honey. This water sign being symbolic of the maternal principle of nature, and recognized by the pagans as the origin of all life, was natural and consistent domicile of the moon. The autumnal equinox apparently occurs in the constellation of Libra, the Balancers. The scales tipped and the solar globe began its pilgrimage toward the house of winter. The constellation of the scales was placed in the zodiac to symbolize the power of choice, by means of which man may weigh one problem against another. Millions of years ago, when the human race was in the making, man was like the angels, who knew neither good nor evil. He fell into the state of knowledge of good and evil, when the gods gave him the seed for the mental nature. From the man's mental reactions, to his environments, he distilled the product of experience, which then aids him to regain his lost position, thus an individualized intelligence. Paracelsus said, "The body comes from the elements, the soul from the stars, and the spirit from God. All that the intellect can conceive comes from the stars, the spirits of the stars, rather than the material constellation." So this is a thing which we should talk about. Within esotericism, there's this division between the fall being caused by sexuality or the fall being caused by rationalism. Because, like, Steiner has this whole thing about how Atlanteans didn't have the rational mind, but because they had every single Atlantean had eidetic memory, even though you couldn't reason your way into something, if you saw something happen, it would be in your mind forever. So through trial and error, you could build up knowledge cumulatively, and then, like, elders of a society would be important, because then the elders would just know things. And you'd transfer the knowledge from one person to another like that, and knowledge is cumulative. But with reason, you can reason your way to knowledge, like an architect being able to tell if a building will fall down from the plans that you give him. You don't need to build each and every building to figure out what stands. The architect can look at a thing and be like, this beam is this long and you're going to put that weight on it? Nah, it's going to fall. He can reason it. And so the reason is connected to the spirit. The intellectus and the spiritus are actually connected together. So there's this Sorry. I think someone's getting yelled at. Nonetheless, talk about cancers. Jesus, I think there's a scarab beetle in my kitchen. What was I going to say? Yeah, so the intellectus and the spirit are connected. And the problem is when we were primitive, we didn't have this, Yoshi, is that you? We didn't have the rational in the way. So the rational became something of a tool that we could use to manipulate the world. But because of that, our instincts are lost. Our intuitions are lost. And so it's not about, we need to get rid of the reason. The reason was put there for a reason. But we need to recultivate instinct and intuition and actually have them fused with our rationalism, so that it's not just we rationalize everything, and it's not just we rely just on our senses, but a secret third organ of cognition is developed. And this is what Steiner's whole mission was in that sense. In a way, Gurdjieff as well. It's like you have the higher cylinders that we need to connect with, you know. Steiner wanted to create that organ of cognition through imagination, inspiration, and intuition. But you also have the sexual mysteries, the fall being sexual. So then there's also schools that talk about the mysteries as a work of sexual regeneration. You use the sexual energy, and inverting it inwards and upwards, you regrow that which is atrophied. And I actually think, and this is the thing, in the sexual mysteries, they call the sexual energy the Mercury. And what's Mercury? He's also the god of the mind. Hermes, Mercury, the god of intelligence. So I actually think there's an interconnectedness between these two things. Like even Paracelsus, he quoted Paracelsus there. But Paracelsus has this whole thing about you need to awaken, you know, the imagination. And how do you do that? Well, via transmuting the sexual seed. The ens seminis, you get the aura seminalis, aura imaginalis, the sperm of the imagination, and that fuel opens, you know, your third eye, your inner eye, so to speak. So there's this interesting interconnection. I actually think the people who are just like tantric heads, and it's just like, no, forget about developing the mind or learning all of this intellectual stuff. It's irrelevant. Actually, it's the reason for our fall. You just need to practice the sexual mysteries. And then there are other people who are like, the sexual mysteries. No, this is just base. We're going to, in a heavenly future period, we're going to have bodies without genitals, and we're going to be like just spiritual beings. I think both of those people are retarded. And actually, there's an interconnection. You actually need both. You need your sexuality to be sorted out, and you need your energies to be moving inwards and upwards, but also there's some kind of, you need to be able to engage your consciousness in a specific way. There needs to be certain faculties, intellectual and otherwise, that are there. Because it's like there needs to be this structure, and then there needs to be energy flowing into the structure. If you have energy flowing inwards and upwards, into what? Into your mental dysfunctions? You'll just increase your dysfunction. Into flowing into nothing, well then it just flows into nothing. But at the same time, there are all these people that elaborate certain systems or, create these organs of cognition, and then they train and train and train and just nothing happens. It's like they've made a house, but the house is continuously empty. I think there's this interconnectedness. There's two things that need to happen. So Manly, he's a part of this old guard, and he's clearly more on the rational, intellectual side. The intellectus and the spiritus are connected. It's yes. And in spiritual, I don't think he's ever going to say that, but you can see it. Never Christian Max. I don't know what that means. The constellation of Capricorn, in which the winter solstice theoretically takes place, was called the House of Death, for in winter, all life in the northern hemisphere is at its lowest ebb. Capricorn is a composite creature. And so this is interesting. Sometimes Capricorn is just seen as the goat, but it's also the goat with like a fish's tail. So it has this weird dual nature. And I never really got the fishtail thing. Like maybe it's to do with the waters, and it's the lower half, so maybe it's like the sexual waters, like that could be a thing. Capricorns can be intellectual, they're Saturnian. There's the goat that's headed up the mountain, but also there's the waters that need to be transmuted. You see what I'm saying, guys? The upper head of the body, with the head of the upper body of a goat and the tail of a fish. In this constellation, the sun is least powerful in the northern hemisphere, and after passing through the constellation, it immediately begins to increase. Hence the Greeks said that Jupiter, a name of the sun god, was suckled by a goat. A new and different sidelight on the zodiacal symbolism is supplied by John Cole. John Cole dishing out gems, apparently. A treatise on the circular zodiac of the Tentira. Climb the heights, swim the depths. Exactly, Necrodancer. The symbol, therefore, of the goat rising from the body of the fish represents with the greatest propriety the mountainous buildings of Babylon rising out of its low and marshy situation. The two horns of the goat being emblematical of the two horns of Nineveh and Babylon. The former built on the Tigris and later on the Euphrates, but both subjected to one sovereignty. Okay, we've gotten halfway there, living on a prayer. Maybe I'll just read the rest of this paragraph, and then we might call it there. The period of 2,160 years required for the regression of the sun through one of the zodiacal constellations is often termed an age, or an aeon. I have a lot of Capricorn placements in my chart. I definitely need to learn more about the goat and fish. Me too, bruh. Me too. And all my Capricorn placements are in the 12th house, so I've been screwed. According to this system, the age secured its name from the sign through which the sun passes year after year as it crosses the equator at the vernal equinox. From this arrangement are derived the terms the Taurian age, the Aryan age, the Piscean age, the Aquarian age. During these periods, or ages, religious worship takes the form of the appropriate celestial sign, that which the sun is said to assume as a personality, in the same manner that a spirit assumes a body. The 12 signs are the jewels of his breastplate, and his light shines forth from them one after another. From a consideration of this system, it is readily understood why certain religious symbols were adopted during different ages of the Earth's history. For during the 2,160 years the sun was in the constellation of Taurus, it is said that the solar deity assumed the body of Apis, and the bull became sacred to Osiris. For details concerning the astrological ages as related to biblical symbolism, see The Message of the Stars by Max and Augustus Voss Heindel. Oh, Max Heindel, baby. Let's go. During the Aryan Age. Apparently, Manly P. Hall and Max Heindel had some connection. Like, Manly P. Hall was always his own dude. He didn't join the Theosophers. Hey, he became a Mason. But his Rosicrucians are mentioned. I think I'm not sure if him and it was Heindel, but maybe Heindel's wife. Manly P. Hall and Heindel's wife were, like, close, because Heindel, like, died. And freaking Hall lived till, like, 1990. Till the 90s, holy shit. It's so crazy to think that Manly P. Hall lived through the 80s. Manly P. Hall would have watched Star Trek. You think of Manly P. Hall as someone from the 1920s. But it's like Manly P. Hall would have seen Star Trek. Both original and next gen. That's what blows the mind. But yeah, apparently he was friends with the Heindels at one point. During the age of the Aryan lamb was held sacred, and the priests were called shepherds. Sheep and goatsies were sacrificed upon the altars, and a scapegoat was appointed to bear the sins of Israel. So, that was pretty... Yeah, I think we'll call it there for the reading. We'll call it there for a reading. Let me just switch places. So now it's zoomed in, because I think we got a very special tarot. Also, let me hold the end the poll there. We got 29 votes on that poll. Did we pull a card? Yes, we did. 29 votes. We got PP 59, Poo Poo 41%. This card is very symbolic. If you can get this, like, you know how we're like, oh, the cards are sometimes a reference. The cards are sometimes a reference for the entire chapter. Let's see what's up. And thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. For the $20. What have we got? Give me your guesses, boys. Give me the guesses. Damn, we got some crazy latency. I think I'm like delayed by a minute or two. Okay. Kimberly sticking with 5. Richard going for justice. Tyler and Nulu on star. Okay. Burb. The word. Outtuition sticking with Wheel of Fortune. Jacob Mendez, The Tower. Ariman World. I think Necrodancer's The World as well. Well, guess what, guys? You know how, was it Outtuition? Were you mentioning that it's, let me just put this back up. You mentioned if you pull the Wheel of Fortune, you got the 4 animals, right? That are connected to the stars in the universe. What other card has the 4 animals on it? Outtuition. You're so close, Outtuition. All you needed to do is double up. Wheel of Fortune is 10, and today's card is 20. The World. That lady in the middle, we got the naked dude, and here's his wife. That smug guy. Well, here's his wife, just chillaxing. Like, girls just want to have fun. There she is, just living her best life. Floating in the universe. Surrounded by the animals. Crazy. Crazy that we were talking about it this entire time. I mean, it's insane because it's like there's 22 cards. There's 22 cards, and it could literally be anything. It could have been death. We could have drawn death, but we drew the world. Like, what is with... I hate this game. Sorry, Kim. Psychic powers are real, Ari Man. Did you guess, or were you like kind of going off of what I was saying, Ari Man? But it's like, it's crazy, you know? It could have been the Emperor, it could have been the Empress. But we were talking about the zodiac and the sky, and it was the world. Drew the card this morning. Ahriman. Oh, crazy. And that's very coincidental. That's very coincidental. So yeah, thanks for everyone coming along, and thanks for sticking around. I know we're in the slow season now, so I haven't made any content in a while. I've recorded some stuff. I got some stuff in the pipeline. I still got to do another Substack as well. Make that worthwhile for all y'all. I've got to do that. Who requested the shadow integration one? I'll do a shadow integration Substack next. That's what I'll do. But yeah, we're still doing the shindigs on the Telegram. In fact, we got the next one coming up in a couple of days. The next Evola chapter is just going to be full sexual magic. We're almost at the end of the Abraxas chapters, so Abraxas. I sounded like some frickin' Q&A for New Year's. Maybe. Yeah, we'll do a little. Might do a little New Year's Eve shindig. We'll see what's up. I want to try and live stream on Substack because they have that functionality, but we'll see how it goes. I want to try and do some more stuff there, more stuff on Q&A hang, some stuff on Twitter as well. Yeah, we need to do a Q&A hangout. Yeah, we did the tarot for the New Year's stream. But no, we can do another yearly tarot. Let's do an esoteric drinking game. Okay. I'll get some ciders. And then what do we do? I'll just load up a movie, stream a movie, and like watch it through YouTube or something. Oh yeah, and definitely do the yearly tarot again if y'all remember. Maybe I should just make that a video and pin it or something. Oh, Loco, thank you for the 20 Brazilian dollars. It's been a year already, our tuition. Ninth gate. Ooh. Video on crystallization of the higher being bodies. I've got so much stuff in the pipeline, dog, that I have to get to, and I've barely gotten to. That one's the higher being bodies is probably gonna be like longer than the 4th political compass video, if I'm gonna be perfectly honest. Any Christmas plans? Stranger Things. I think me and my wife and kids, we've watched 3 episodes. I think we've got a 4th one, and then 2 come out on Christmas Day, and then there's one on New Year's Eve, which is like 3 hours long or whatever. So we'll probably be watching some Stranger Things at some point. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, it's been good. Any plans for Hanukkah? Damn it, member. My plans for Hanukkah? Just friggin'... I don't know, what do they even do on Hanukkah? Eat Chinese food, that's what they... You know, have you heard of the Jewish Christmas thing? Jewish Christmas, they all go, yeah, I'm Greek, exactly. I've given up, man. I've given up telling people I'm Greek, not Jewish. For Jewish Christmas, they eat Chinese food, because the whole thing is in New York, which is the true Holy Land of the Jews, in New York, and I guess in other cities in the US, traditionally, everything was closed for Christmas. So if you're Jewish, what do? Well, the only 2 places open were the movie theaters, because they're all owned by Jewish guys, and Chinese places, because the Chinese never celebrated Christmas. So it's like a Jewish Christmas was, you'd go and eat Chinese food with some friends, and then you'd all go see a movie, or vice versa. You'd all go see a movie, and then you'd go and eat Chinese, you'd all go and have Chinese together, and you'd all talk about the movie. That was the Jewish Christmas. And I'm like, you know what, that actually sounds kind of fun, no homo. So that's one Jewish tradition I can get behind. Anyway, that was ultra random, but thank you all for coming along. Chinese is kosher. I mean, I guess they wouldn't have pork dim sims, but you know, there's all kinds of stuff that they could have. They got beef dim sims. They got chicken. It's like, give me the, you go to a Chinese place and you go ask for the roast duck, ask for some soups, you get the little prawn dumplings and things like that. Yeah, there's lots of stuff that's kosher. But yeah, drop some birds in the chat for Carl. He's been judging you all for getting the wrong tarot card. But yeah, I'll see you next week. And I'll see he is a Scorpio. Carl is a Scorpio. And I'll see you all next week, or see you on the Telegram for the Evola reading. We're getting close. We're getting close to the end of those Abraxas chapters. But yeah, I'll see you there. See you guys. Bye bye.